Hello and welcome to the Rugby League Coach Podcast, episode 37 of season 2. My name is Lee Addison. I am the owner of rugbyleaguecoach.com.au and the host of this Rugby League Coach podcast that has been going for approximately 2 years. As you know, I ask 4 questions weekly. This is your podcast. This is your service. This is your free service as coaches and maybe just as lovers of the game. And I'm actually going to start with the questions this week because it's your podcast and you make the show. The question of this week comes from Alvin Ellie in Papua New Guinea. He asked 2 questions. Firstly, he asked, do you believe players show better fitness levels on the football field than they show on grueling traditional fitness tests such as road runs, beat tests, etc.? Do you think fitness drills and tests at all levels should be more football skill related, or is there always a need for the traditional? I'll go back to your fitness test question first, Alvin, because this can really go in so many different directions. The mentality needed to get through a test, such as the beep, the yo-yo, or some kind of 1.8 run, 1.2 run, or running up hills. There's a different mentality associated with that, a different preparation, if you like, as well, than associated with a game. I really think the best way of testing your fitness levels is by playing the game. Now, on that note, you then ask, do you think fitness drills and tests at all levels should be more football skill related? Absolutely, yes, I do, because I'm basically a games-based coach. And I've done so many pre-seasons where all I've done is games and ball skills and tackling drills. The old-fashioned traditional fitness methods, you asked, is there always a need? Now, I've been very lucky, and I've mentioned this a few times on this pod, that I've been privy to GPS and heart rate data that a lot of the games that people see on rugbyleaguecoach.com.au or the associated social media channels, which I'll mention soon, I've been privy to the GPS heart rate data from all those games that are on there and all those drills. So I know that in a typical session of mine that lasts about an hour, I know that I can get my players to run for 3 to 5 kilometers, some of them 6, 7, depending on how hard they go, based on drills, games, all ball related, all skill related. And at the same time as getting them fitter, I'm getting them more skilled. But not just that, back to the fitness levels, those kind of things imitate the exact responses that you do get in games. Now, I could go on a bit scientifically, but I will say one thing, the blood lactate responses that you do get in conditioning games absolutely mimic what happens in rugby league. I've done this so much in the past, Alvin, that I've had players tell me that the first few games of the season were actually a lot easier than my pre-season. And there was never any of what we would call the traditional training methods. Now, the traditional training methods are your 100-meter sprints, your 50-meter sprints, your Malcolms, your coat hangers, etc. Now, for variety, I believe it's a good thing to do some of those traditional methods. Secondly, there's something called social loafing, where players, when they're playing in a game of some kind, could actually hide in the game so they don't have to do as much work. Now, the way I countered that was I videoed as much training as I could when I had the GPS and heart rate data available to me. And therefore, I could call out the players on their bludgeoning, to use an Australian term. So I do appreciate that many of us do not have access to all those resources. Now, what I'm suggesting to every coach in the community out there is that use as many games and ball-related drills as you can, and just do a little bit of the old traditional conditioning just to give your players the impression that you are still ticking that box, because there's so many old-fashioned attitudes out there still in rugby league that some of your players will tell you that your pre-season wasn't hard enough if all you just do is games, particularly the older players. So if you're talking about coaching seniors, for example, who have grown up with Malcolms and laps of the oval and coat hangers and wheelbarrows and things like that. So to answer your question, absolutely football skill related, Alvin. Is there always need for the traditional? No, there isn't, but you shouldn't necessarily throw it away either. You're listening to Lee Addison on the Rugby League Coach Podcast. Now, Alvin also asked me, he said, from what you've seen of rugby league in Papua New Guinea, if you were given a chance to come up to PNG to coach or run a few sessions, Lee, what level would you prefer to coach and how long for? And thanks for the question, Alvin. That's not included in question of the week, by the way, guys, but I thought I'd maybe get my resume out there while I'm here now. Alvin, I've done an awful lot of coaching, and I've got to be honest, quite frankly, I feel that I've still got some of the best years in front of me. And in terms of Papua New Guinea, I love the passion for rugby league in Papua New Guinea. I love the way the game is played over there. I actually want to work at the highest level in Papua New Guinea. If the opportunity came to coach in the competition, I would go there. But I am two types of coach as well. So yes, there's the team coaching aspect, and I do talk about the teams I coach on this podcast quite regularly, and the teams I have coached. But I'm also a youth development specialist too. So what I tend to do when I work with clubs or when I ran the schoolboy rugby league programs, it was put in long-term strategies so that they still survive to this day. And as I've said on this podcast before, Ipswich State High School, Maple Park State High School, St. Gregory's College, they're all in a good place when I left. And that's because it wasn't just about just coaching the top team. In terms of teams, I mean, rep teams, I tend to have quite a good specialism in terms of a short-term coaching stint. And I definitely want to do something different and exciting, Alvin. So if you've got some pull in Papua New Guinea, mate, please get somebody on the phone to me. Look, the last three years, I have taken rugby league coach all around the world and all around Australia. So places since 2019 alone, Argentina, the UK 3 times, Poland, so much happening in and around Brisbane. Bundaberg, I've done 4 clinics there. Far North Queensland, the Gulf of Carpentaria. 3 clinics in Sydney, 5 clinics in Melbourne, and so many schools and clubs. I think over the 3-year period through Rugby League Coach and when we went on the Aim Higher Roadshow, it was something like 3,000 players in 2.6 years and about 60 clubs and schools. So geography has never been a problem for me, Alvin, and it never will be. Indeed,